The following commands often prove extremely useful in Vi, but you wouldn't call them basic editing commands. They are somewhat advanced. Shift or indent the current line to the right. Simply increase the indentation of the line by one tab stop if you like. You use the double greater than sign to do that, or you can think of them as arrows pointing to the right. You can also think of the two less than signs of arrows as arrows pointing to the left and show they shift the current line to the left. Let's have a look at what I'm talking about. This is the sort of thing that programmers tend to do quite a lot. HTML document editors tend to do it a bit as well. So we might find a line that we decide wants to be indented, and perhaps that one, and then we simply do the double greater than sign, and it moves a little bit off to the right. How far off? Well, you can actually specify that in your configuration file for Vi. We'll show you that in the next module. If I want to do it again, just do it again, and again, and again, and again. Or I can do it back the other way using double less than sign. I've got to type it, got to hit the less than key twice. 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Then I can go down onto the next line and just do dot, which indents that line as well. Move down again, do dot, and dot, and dot, and thus I've indented every line in my HTML header. Alternatively, I can do them all at once. I could say 5 lines. There are 5 lines, so I could do 5 double less than signs, and they all move. I could do 5 double greater than sign. Now, imagine if I wanted to do every line from here to the bottom of the file, from this line onwards, all the way till the end. Well, can you remember how I moved to the end of the file? Well, I don't know if you can, but it's the letter capital G. Remember that? So if I do a single greater than sign and then a capital G, it moves every single line from here to the bottom of the file one shift. Now what if you didn't want to move every single line from here to the bottom of the file? Well, you could choose an arbitrary point. You say, alright, I want to move this table tag from this line here at the bottom of the screen all the way to that line there. I want them all to be moved one to the left. So what I'll do is I'll mark that. I'll use the M for bookmark, you know, the marking thing I showed you before. Let's call it bookmark number A, MA, and then I move down to the last part of the last line that I want to shift. Now, can you remember how I jump back up to my bookmarked point A? Well, I just use quote A. I'm not going to do it now. What I will do instead is shift left, so the less than sign, quote A. And what happens is every line from the line I was on all the way back to the bookmark number A gets shifted left. Okay, well I suppose that's quite enough examples of shifting left and shifting right. I showed you all those different examples really just to expand your mind, to show you that you can actually combine various things in Vi. Virtually every command can be combined with some kind of movement to produce a subtle variation on the command. Like you can combine them with bookmarks, or you can combine them with line numbers, and so on. The next command is capital J. It's a very simple one. Join the next line onto the end of the current one and separate them by a space. Let's have a look. Here I am on a line. It doesn't really matter what line, and I type in capital J, and the line below this one will be joined onto the end of this one, like so. It's very simple, so that's probably all I need to show you about that. The Control-L command is used to redraw the screen. Why would you ever need the screen to be redrawn? Well, if some other Unix program that you're using somehow writes data onto the middle of your screen. That can happen from time to time. I'll show you what that might look like. Okay, here I am sitting in the middle of my document, and what can happen is that information can just be written all over the screen in a totally unexpected way sometimes. like that. Do you see what's happened to the screen? I did a little bit of magic there. I just dropped out to the shell and said, in 20 seconds time I want you to run the program ls. I'll leave that as an exercise and see if you can figure out how to do that. Anyway, so I set that off and then I jumped back into Vi, and sure enough 20 seconds later ls happened and it splattered all that information across the screen. Now that may or may not be useful information, so I could probably try and read it, and once I've read it I can get rid of it. I can redraw Vi's screen by typing in Control L. I'll do that now. Control L, and Vi is redrawn. Everything's back to normal. Notice that those words that were splattered across the top of my screen did not actually get edited or entered into my file. They just simply appeared on the screen on top of whatever I was looking at. Now we have a somewhat complex command, but it is very, very useful. So useful that I'm going to show it to you, and then I'm going to try and explain it to you. Okay, begins with a colon. So it's a bit like colon X and colon W and colon Q. Colon M, N, and M and N are supposed to refer to line numbers. So you could say from lines 10 to 20. So it might go colon 10, 20, then the letter S, and then a /, and then some text that you want to find, and then another /, and then the text that you want to replace it with, and then a letter G. G for global. So that means that on the lines that you specify, search for and replace the following text. So theoretically, if you specified all the lines in the file, you could substitute every pattern, every occurrence, say, of ABC with XYZ in the file in one go. When you're specifying line numbers, you can actually use the $sign to mean the last line in the file. And yes, I know the $sign is supposed to mean the last letter on the line, not the last line in the file, but when you're using this command, $sign means the last line in the file, and dot, you can use that to mean the current line. So if you wanted to, you could use a dot in place of M or N. So for example, if you wanted to replace from the current line down to the end of the file, you could use dot, comma, dollar. Dot, comma, dollar. Dot for the current line, dollar for the last line, and it would replace all that text that occurred somewhere in between the current line and the last line of the file. Probably good if I show you an example of that. Okay, so for example, I have a great deal of these sorts of patterns in my file. This word writing. Let's say I wanted to change all the occurrences of the word writing to, say, the word normal. This is how I might do it. Colon. Now, if I wanted to do every single line in the file, I'd do 1, $, sorry, not 1,4, 1, $, dollar meaning the last line, so that's every single line in the file, followed by an S, followed by a slash, followed by the text that I want to find, which is writing, followed by the text that I want to replace it with, which is normal. Now, either of these can have spaces in them, it doesn't matter, and then I put a G on the end of that. And then I press enter. And 58 substitutions on 58 lines, and now you can see that I have the word normal there. Now I know that's extremely complex to try and remember all that, but if you can remember it, it makes editing very, very fast.